He directly addressed the vile comments that circulated over the weekend with a call to action saying that we must speak out against the alarming surge of anti-Semitism because silence is complicity. Like we said, while every American has the right to peaceful protest, calls for violence and physical intimidation targeting Jewish students and the Jewish community are blatantly anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous, and they have no place on any college campus or anywhere in the United States of America. Echoing the rhetoric of terrorist organizations, especially in the wake of the worst massacre committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, is despicable. We are, of course, monitoring these situations closely. There has been alarming rhetoric that we want to be sure we are meeting our responsibility to speak out against. We will continue to do that, and that is a commitment the president made in the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. That is something he feels very strongly about.
But not
you all
strongly
remember
enough to
that he made the decision to run because of the anti-Semitic bile.
So this is their deputy press secretary. He's a lower level staffer that they sent out to basically clean up Biden's mess of a remark where he essentially both-sided the whole situation with these college protests. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch with you at the bottom of the second hour. And again, you can listen coast to coast. You can also stream the radio program and watch the simulcast of the radio program on channel 347 DirecTV and everywhere else. It's also streaming on X. But that's ultimately what he did with these protests that have been happening on these college campuses. That's really what they did. Is he's trying to both sides it with the remark that he made. I mean, we have his remark. Can we just play his remark again? This was his very fine people moment. Audio soundbite 1. Let's listen to this real quick.
Condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians and how they're being.
Should the Columbia University president resign?
Right this way. I didn't know that. I'll have to find out more about it.
Good heavens. I mean, his comment was bad. I mean, it just was, I condemn them. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians. What does that mean? What does it even mean? One of the things, too, to note is the difference. I actually think this is different from Trump's remark in that Trump was not both sidesing the rioters in Charlottesville. He was talking about the removal of statues. And when he was talking about how on that specific debate, if you ever listen to his full remarks on this, and I'm just telling you what was said, you can, this has nothing to do with whether you like Trump or not. If you're an objective thinking person, you'll dislike someone for very real things and you not for made up nonsense. But he was speaking about this debate on the statues, and he was saying that there were people who felt as though you were destroying American history, good or bad, by removing the statues, and then people who felt on the other side that the statues represented something that was painful in the past, etc. And he was saying that they're on the sides of the debate, that there's good people on either side of the issue, on either side of that debate. That's what he was talking about. And then they made it to be he was talking about the rioters in Charlottesville. But he actually said later, when he was specifically asked about the Charlottesville riot, he was like, oh, white supremacists, all this other stuff. And he raged at them. So that fallacy still persists. And that's why I think Biden's remark was even worse. But I didn't think Trump's remark, I thought the context in which they tried to falsely place Trump's remark was bad. Biden's remark is actually bad. And it's because the way he says it, he's like, I also condemn those. He says, I condemn the anti-Semitic protests, but I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the quote unquote Palestinians. What do you mean? Would you not understand what's going on with them? Everybody knows what's going on. I mean, you have these Hamas cheerleaders with the scarf version of their tiki torches literally cheering for the annihilation of a people because of their religious beliefs. This has nothing to do with government disputes or disagreements with the prime minister. This is literally about going after people for their beliefs. And Hamas, the terrorist entity, is the democratically elected official government of the people in Gaza. They knew they were a terrorist element before they voted for them. They knew that they were a terrorist group when they were voting for them. And they knew they were a terrorist group when, after October 7th, they told international news agencies by a wide, unbelievable majority that they overwhelmingly approved of what Hamas did on October 7th. Furthermore, they again knew that Hamas was a terror element, a terror group, by telling their own Gazan surveyors who were trying to poll the people, and this was in early spring of this year, when they overwhelmingly approved of what Hamas was doing, and they still liked them and they were still popular. And people knew, again, that this was a terrorist group when they were overwhelmingly indicating that they were going to be voting for them to take over in West Bank as also, in addition to the Gazan Strip. So, I mean, there's at some point the excuse just tires out. It just wears thin. You know that they're a terrorist group. If you want to know what's going on with people in Gaza, it's this: they're represented by terrorists. And what have I said about elected officials here in the United States? How it's an avatar of the people. Am I supposed to say that there's an exception elsewhere? Like people just didn't know that they were blowing up, that they had a martyrs fund? I mean, it's a little difficult to say otherwise when you watch video after video of like random people coming out of their homes and helping to spit on people that have been taken hostage and motorbiked back into Gaza. I mean, I'm just saying, that's just, it's observation. Seems pretty legitimate. No, you had a country that defended itself against this terroristic, nihilistic entity, and now you have all these sympathizers, terrorist sympathizers on college campuses that are doing this. Now, by the way, do you remember whose tuition is getting quote unquote forgiven? Joe Biden and the Democrats, they're doing all this student loan forgiveness. How much you want to bet that you have Jewish families out there, really everybody, not just Jewish families, that are paying off the college debt now of these pro-Hamas student terrorist sympathizers? Joe Biden's already bought off their votes. Maybe they should do a rally there at these college campuses, and Joe Biden could remind everyone at Columbia that he did college loan forgiveness, quote unquote forgiveness. Don't they have like a whole other 60-something $3 million thing that they're getting ready to do? Let me look this up. I thought it was announced last week. Whole student debt forgiveness. Just saying. It seems like that. I mean, they're also protesting at MIT. They're doing all of this stuff. So, it seems like you're paying for them to be there. You're paying for them to be there. You're paying for them to do these protests. Now, a few other things I want to make sure that let me pull this up. I got a lot of windows open. I want to make sure that we get to also. This is audio soundbite 10. This is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on these demonstrations. Listen.
Well, first on what's happening in these college campuses, if I were in charge, I would send the Justice Department after those universities, because this is unacceptable to have this type of anti-Semitism where it's not just bad speech. They're really targeting Jewish students. It's a hostile environment and violates the civil rights of those students. And these universities, they just aren't willing to do what needs to be done to ensure.
True. I'd send the DOJ after those universities. And maybe Republicans in Congress could just, maybe they could do something with the power of the purse. I mean, I realize they only have a +1 majority. Maybe they could stop obsessing over the speaker seat long enough to figure out maybe holding these universities accountable by, I don't know, putting a stranglehold on federal grants. Might be nice, right? Might be nice to do. I mean, it's leftist radicals that the left finds completely disposable. They use them every election cycle. But I like what he had to say there on that.